Hello everybody, it's Cape Rugby TV time. We talk about what's happening in the world of Western Province Club Rugby. You might think that we are at the end of the rugby season, but we're not. We've still got a long way to go. Promotion, relegation, that's still on the cards. And of course it's the Sevens rugby that's coming up. And we'll be talking about the World Cup as well. Very exciting. Lots going on. Of course, big thanks to our sponsors, Direct Access, it's on board with Cape Rugby TV, Score Energy Drinks, MChem 24-Hour Pharmacy, Yes Electrical, and Dulux Maitland, and of course, Intercape. Intercape are your transport providers to Western Province Rugby and the DHL Stormers. Some great competitions coming up tonight as well. Don't forget, you can win yourself a case of Score Energy Drinks. Score is, of course, a partner to the Western Province Club Rugby Sevens. I'll tell you in a second or so what all is coming up tonight, but let me introduce you to my panel. Early start, Jerome Parvater. Jerome, welcome back.
Well, JP, good to be back. And Saturday at City Park, there was great rugby, starting with Sevens.
Yeah.
Which Busy Bees beat Fallsby. And then obviously the two other games, good rugby the whole day at City Park Saturday. It was great.
Yeah, so we're going to take a look at that, the promotion relegation games, NTK against Belleville, and we'll also take a look at the promotion relegation game between Young Peoples and Hands and Hearts. Interviews, of course, coming from the captains and coaches of all four sides. We'll take a look at who's going to be promoted and relegated in Super League A, Super League B, Super League C. It's the PAL region they play through. We'll take a look at the promotion league, take a look at the top teams there that are going to be promoted. And then, of course, we're going to have a chat about Sevens Rugby, the Score, Western Province Club Rugby Sevens. The launch is next week. So next week starts the Score, Western Province Club Rugby Sevens. Very exciting, so we'll chat about that. Jerome, just talking about City Park and the promotion relegation games. We're going to take a look at that now. Of course, this is make or break for the guys. It was make or break. This is the last thing that determined whether you go up or down. Is it important for all of the clubs to make it up to the next league? Why is it important for a club to go up?
JP, I think the hard work that the guys put in during the season, and also it's rewarding for a coach also, the work that he put in. If his club can get up and play a bit higher up, so I think that's one of the importance. But also, what guys must understand, it's good to go up, but do you have the necessary resources? Yeah. If you go higher up, and there's a lot of work regarding that. But I must say, just watching the rugby on Saturday, you could see each club who played there did their best to play and to go up. And they really gave the other teams a hard time. So well done to those clubs who's going up, and also to the guys who didn't make it. They really tried. All
right, well, let's take a look at the first game then. Of course, you know them well. Belleville, in fact, you know all the clubs well. Belleville, NTK. Of course, NTK ended number 13 in the Super League A log, and Belleville at number 3 after the playoffs, after the 3rd and 4th place playoffs. And these two teams now had to play for promotion. The winner here was going to either stay in Super League A or be relegated into Super League B. Let's take a look at the first half highlights here. NTK up against Belleville.
This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks, and MChem 24-Hour Pharmacy. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks, and MChem 24-Hour Pharmacy.
Well, there you go, 19-8 lead going into the half time there for Belleville. We're not, sorry, for NTK. We're not going to give the final score away just yet, but Jerome, just looking at the match there, I saw, now you tell me if I'm right, I saw there Belleville playing some great running rugby, and then I saw some very loose stuff coming about, and NTK finding a few gaps across through the defence.
Yeah, the first try was an intercept try for NNK, and the second try where, I don't know who it was, but one of the Belleville players should just fall on the ball and secure the ball and prefer to kick the ball forward, and he kicked the ball into one of NNK's guys' hands. And I don't also know why NNK made it so difficult to score the try, because it was an easy try for them to score. And I also think in the first half, NNK dominated the set pieces there a bit. You could see in the scrums, and there were a few lineouts where obviously if you play against a sort of a smaller pack, you're gonna target them in the scrums and in the lineout mauling, which you could see that they've done their homework. But in the first half, Belleville was unlucky not to score. I think there were 2 opportunities for them to score. They scored 1 try, but there were 2 more opportunities where they could have scored, but unfortunately they didn't get their points.
Is it fair to say, we're going to take a look at the second half in a second now, but is it fair to say that this game is probably your most important game of the year?
Yeah, I would say that, JP. And I remember we were talking last week, and we said, like, you know, NNK played a month ago, they've played. But, and you can see they were getting tired. If you look at the second half, they were getting tired. But Belleville, it's tough for Belleville because they played 3 games in almost a week. Yeah. So it was tough on them. So and as I was saying last week, it just depends on their injury. So they had a few guys who were injured who couldn't recover, and it hurt them.
It was 3 games in a week. It was Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday. It was 3 games in a week.
So it's almost impossible. But if you want to play in Super A, it just shows you need 2 squads.
Yeah.
You need almost two teams that can play in that competition. Yeah. So it just shows that you need the manpower to play Super A.
You need depth, yeah. Well, before you give the game away, let's take a look at the second half.
This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks, and MChem 24-Hour Pharmacy. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks, and MChem 24-Hour Pharmacy.
29-18 then win to Belleville, to NTK. NTK then stay in Super League A and Belleville remains in Super League B. Jerome, Bellville looks like they had it there for most of the game, and then in the end there, the rub of the ball, the bounce, I don't know.
Yeah, I would say, I think there was, I thought that, and I think Bellville spectators also thought they had that one, because there were about 4 minutes left, and Bellville were just keeping going, keep going, but they couldn't score. And I also think I could hear from the side where we were standing that Warren Isaacs, the coach of Bellville, talking to his players, almost begging them, because they had the wind with them to kick the ball and play there. But knowing Bellville, they want to run everywhere. In City Park, if you play with that wind, you must use it. So they try to run everything, but they had opportunities, and they had the opportunity till the end there to score. And one silly mistake, NNK went and score. And I don't know if it's the third time or second time that NNK is lucky against Bellville, but hopefully next year for Bellville things will turn their way. And but NNK, I hope they'll do better next year, because they can't just survive every year on promotion and make it to go and play up. But and saying that, JP, it just shows the Super A, it's just the difference between the competitions. Yes, the Super B is also tough, but just a little bit of experience of NNK that helped them at the end also.
Folks, we're going to take an ad break. When we come back from the break, we'll be catching up with Bellville captain Emerton Boyson and NTK's coach Frikkie Kutse, as well as NTK's captain Brandon Grant. And then we'll talk a little bit about NTK and Bellville's season in 2019. A little bit later in the show, we'll be taking a look at the promotion relegation game between Young Peoples and Hands and Hearts, and we'll also be talking to the coaches and captains from those sides. We'll then take a look at the promotion relegation in the PAL region, as well as the promotion league games. We've got some interesting barometers there. Of course, Blake's up against CPUT, Peninsula up against Albions, and Eerste against Violets. That's where the rub of the green is going to come into the picture. And then we'll speak to Faisal Felton from Western Province Rugby. He's going to be joining us during the course of the show to talk to us a little about the upcoming SCORE Western Province Club Rugby Sevens. We'll see you after the break. Welcome back, everybody. Right, it's time for us now to take a look at the other matches, of course, that took place. But before that, let's catch up with, you would have seen then before the break, we had a look at the promotion and relegation game between NTK and Bellville. And I think we've got to give a bit of credit there to the teams that played in that game. They're playing to the very end. But before we do that, let me welcome onto the show tonight Faisal Felton. Nice to have you join us.
Good evening, JP. It's good to be here.
Running a little bit late tonight?
Yeah, a little bit late, running around. You know, you think the season is over, but there's always stuff that needs to be done.
No, we're going to have a chat about that tonight. One of the big things is, of course, SCORE Western Province Club Rugby Sevens coming up.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's something quite excited about. It's a bunch of new guys that's going to be running this year from SCORE side, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be great fun. Right, folks, as we mentioned, NTK was up against Bellville. We managed to catch up there with the Bellville captain, Emerton Boyson. Let's have a look at what he has to say.
This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, SCORE Energy Drinks, and MChem 24-Hour Pharmacy.
It was a tough one once again. We played against NTK. We were here last year. Same place, same result. We tried to change the result here at the end. It's a sense of deja vu for us. I don't think we can make any excuses. If you look at the game itself, we gave ourselves a chance. So it doesn't matter if we played Saturday, Tuesday. There's a sense of they haven't played a game in a while. So you can argue that both teams, maybe they with the lack of game time, we were maybe playing too much games in 1 week. But we tried to give our all here. We left everything on the park. You can't blame the guys for that. I think I told the guys in the club room before the game, no matter what the result, we already had a good season. Obviously, we set our sights on higher honours, but I think the guys gave it all at the end there.
This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, SCORE Energy Drinks, and MChem 24-Hour Pharmacy.
Right, there we go. Emerton Boyson, Jerome, captain at Bellville. He's been captaining there for a while now. I think as a captain, he needs a bit of credit for his leadership, speaking very eloquently there about the fact that they've given it their all, they've had a good season. Yeah, no, you just hear, every time if he have an interview, you can just hear he's a true leader. He leads by example, and just the way he speaks. And I think he hit the nail on the coffin by saying that, as we were saying, they can't complain because
they've played 3 games in a week. NNK hasn't played, so you can say that they're tired. You can say that NNK didn't play, so they're not match fit. But he said that they gave it their all, but unfortunately it wasn't meant to be. And as he was saying, at the same field, it's like deja vu. It happened. It almost happened in the same manner, because last year they had it till the end. So hopefully next year for Bellville, if they do their homework properly, they'll definitely go up.
Well, if we look at Bellville's results, the only matches that they lost this year was Franschhoek. They won their first 4 games in a row: Busy Bees, Vineyards, Macassar, and Goodwood. And then they lost one to Franschhoek. They lost that one at home, incidentally, by 3 points. And then lost to Kuilsriver and to Hamlets, and then of course at Newlands against Kuilsriver. So you've got to say that they really had a good season, and actually only lost to the teams, excluding Franschhoek, that ended up getting promoted. So it all worked out at the end.
Yeah, it definitely did. You know, and they had a great season, and so they did everything that they could. And I just want to say to the people, especially to the fans, JP, that they must be patient, and it will happen. It will happen to Bellville next year. I think with the young team that they have, that guys will be, they stay together for 3 years now. So next year, definitely, it will be their year. They must just be patient and just support the team again next year.
Yeah. All right, good stuff then to Bellville, and well done to Emerton. Nice leadership there, Emerton, well done. Let's catch up now with the NTK coach and captain Frikkie Kutzer and Brandon Grant, captain at NTK, also been captain there for a while.
This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks and MChem 24-hour Pharmacy.
Dit was vir ons moeilik om die ouens gemotiveer te kry. Daai 6 weke wat ons af was voor die promotion relegation game. Hulle het nog heeltyd gespeel. Ons het geweet hulle lywe gaan seer wees na Saterdag en Dinsdag se game. Hulle het gekom, hulle het goed gespeel. Hulle het definitief ons foute uitgebuit. Maar ek dink ons het goed gedoen om in 'n struktuur te bly vir meeste van die tyd en punt aan te teken wanneer ons moes punt aan teken. Maar het geweet dit gaan 'n bitter moeilike game wees maar ek is ongelooflik trots op die manier hoe ons uitgehou het. Hulle kon net sowel daar op die einde 'n 3 gedruk het. Ons het hulle uitgeduik op die doellyn. Wat ek dink deurslaggewend was in die eindresultaat. So ja, ons is super gelukkig om bo te bly.
Yeah, look, it was almost a case of deja vu. Come from last year to this year. Last year, admittedly, was a bit easier. I mean, today was a massively tough game. But at the end, we pulled it through and we keep our spot in Super A. Yeah, look, we saw it on both sides. We saw it as 6 weeks to prepare, but it was also 6 weeks of difficulty to keep people motivated to come for training. We saw it on the other side as well, that Bellville's going to have tired legs, they're going to have injuries. So it was a 2 sides to the coin scenario. But yeah, we prepared well and we came here for the win and we got it.
This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks and MChem 24-hour Pharmacy.
Right then, let's quickly take a look there. NTK, of course, hanging on there really by a thread. Frikkie Kutzer and Brandon Grant keeping it together then. Faisal, it was down to the wire for NTK. Looking at their results here, really didn't have a great season, which is testimony to the fact that they ended up 13th in the log. You've got to win your games. They beat Primrose and they beat and they got points against with the Vix game.
Yeah.
You can't go through the season when only one game expect the result other than what you got there. But they did win. They did beat Bellville. They do stay in Super League A, and they've got a chance to pull it together.
Yeah, no, as I think the captain mentioned, it's sort of a deja vu again for them. I think it's the 3rd year now they're playing in the promotion relegation matches. I would say they sort of season campaigners. They sort of look for their promotion relegation match. But I think for the season for them, I think it's something that they've got to take back after this game and hopefully look at it as something which they need to work on. And hopefully next year, they can come back a lot stronger and a lot more focused in terms of trying to be, I would say, a lot more competitive in that Super League A. Unlucky to Bellville. I think they're also unlucky, also 2nd year running, and that. And I think, like Jerome says, it's just a matter of time. They just got to hang in there, and hopefully next year, will be their year.
Yeah, Jerome, if I look at NTK season, even though it was loss, and the record books will show loss, but if you look at some of the points in the year, they lost to Tygerberg by only 1 point. So it does look like there were moments in the season that they were playing well, or potentially the other team wasn't playing so good on the day. But I look at the Tygerberg scenario; they lost by only 1 point. And when they played against Durban ends up winning Super League A, and we forget that when they played against Durban, they lost 24-18 only by 6 points. Marty's lost to Durban by more than that. So NTK had their moments in the season where they could play well. They potentially could have been higher up on the log.
Yeah, JP, I remember early on in the season we were talking on the show and say like, something's happening at NNK because they're giving teams, you don't go to NNK and just think that you're going to win. And I remember that clearly. And they had, it was just bad luck, some of the results, but they had something going.
They had moments in the season.
They
where
had
it.
Yeah,
Good, yeah.
and well done to Frikkie. He's also a good coach.
Yeah.
To do that to NNK, and I mean they have everything to play for. They've got great infrastructure. They've got enough people. So they were bad luck. It's true what you say. They were bad luck in ending up where they were.
You need consistency. You can't be up and down. I mean, they ended off with their last game in the season losing to Paul, who was also a very low finisher. They lost there 63-33. So they were, like you say, there were moments in the season where they had moments of brilliance, but then absolute moments of poor performance. And you have to have consistency if you want to balance yourself out in the log.
Yeah, I think what happened to them, JP, when they were competitive against these bigger teams in Super A and they didn't get their points, I think the players and things started to doubt, and maybe doubt the coach, maybe doubt the systems or how they were. But instead of that, they should have just kept on going, keep on working, and it could have been a better season for them.
Well, I'm sure that they'll go into, like Brandon said there, it's a bit of deja vu, and nobody will want to experience the same thing again. So I'm sure that they're going to go into 2020 with a whole new breath of fresh air. Of course, Faisal, do you know, is NTK and Belleville playing in the Score Club Rugby Sevens? Do we know? Are they? I know you've got like 50 teams playing.
There's 46 teams now confirmed playing.
46 teams.
Yeah, no, I think NTK and Belleville are down to be
then
playing.
there we go. Then we've got an opportunity to build the gees. That's what Seven's all about. Folks, we're going to take a break. Ad break. When we come back from the break, we're of course going to take a look at the promotion relegation space for Super League B and C. Now this was Young Peoples who ended up number 13 in Super League B, and Hands and Hearts, as you know, ended up at number 3 in Super League C. So this was the big playoff. Who will go up, who will go down? Let's take a break. When we come back from the break, Young People's Hands and Hearts. Right, there we go, folks. Welcome back. Nice to have you along. As we know now, we've been taking a look at promotion relegation. A little bit later in the show, we're still going to take a look at the promotion league. Don't be confused. Promotion relegation games for Super League A, B, and C. Those are separate matches. Of course, the promotion league still plays out in the matches between the City, the Southern, and the Northern leagues, and we'll see who the top 3 are there that ends up getting promoted into Super League C. But Hands and Hearts were up against Young Peoples. It was a promotion relegation game here to see who survives in Super League B, Super League C. Let's take a look at the first half highlights.
This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks, and MChem 24-Hour Pharmacy. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks and MChem 24-hour pharmacy.
Young people's hands and hearts playing in the promotion relegation match at City Park. And of course we'll explain the promotion relegation process in a minute or so. Of course a little bit more complicated than normal because of the fact that there's a seeding system involved, and we will explain how young people's and hands and hearts might go up or down. Jerome, but it certainly looks like hands and hearts are dominating this match.
Yeah, I must say, hands and hearts, watching that game, they were with the wind the first half, so they played it properly. With the people's big forwards, the number 10 of hands and hearts keep on turning them using the wind, and when they're in the 22, they converted into points, which you know that hands and hearts can handle and they can pass, but they were spot on up until halftime on how to play the game at City Park.
Faisal, just looking at that match, it also looks to me like the guys were not prepared to go to sleep in that game.
Yeah.
It looks to me like it's almost a mid-league game. The guys are looking fast. They look like they're in good shape. They're handling the ball well. So we're literally seeing quality rugby all the way through to the end.
No, definitely, JP. I think, this is where it counts. You've had your sort of warm-up matches, as you call it, for the league, and now is where it counts in that, and now's where you got to prove yourself.
But when I have this conversation with you, I don't really look at, when I speak to you, I look at you with a different cap on. I speak to Jerome about results and how you pass a ball and the skills, but you guys are the administrators. You've got to worry about more than one club, and maybe hand skills is not what you're worrying about, but surely you should be proud of the fact that you've got two teams playing really good rugby there.
No, definitely. I think that's ultimately what we want. We get, I wouldn't say get a lot of flack sometimes in terms of the competition and how it's been played, but there's always two sides to everything. There's going to be a side that's happy and the guys that are unhappy.
But you've got your success story.
But definitely, I think that's what we want to prove, is that you have a competition which is exciting, where people are playing until the end. Some people might not agree because of where they are and how it affects them, but I think when we look at it how it affects rugby as a whole. It's all about rugby in the end. So those teams that are playing, we want to showcase rugby, and that's what it's about.
Because the reality of it is that the reality is that you've actually put two teams on the field. They're playing rugby. Sometimes we forget about all the other components because we're complicated about scores and results and referees and all that. The reality, I don't know, Jerome, you can also jump in here. For me, the reality is, we've got two teams on the field playing rugby. That means that people are not at home. People have got an activity. People are enjoying the game. The fans are there. And I know we can get passionate about it, but the fact is that as amateur sport, we're delivering what we're supposed to deliver, and that is community sport activity.
And also JP, well done to Peoples and to.
Well, listen. Just easy on that, because we still got to look at the final score. We don't know who's won yet.
No, but just well done to them, because Peoples and NNK 6 weeks ago, there was their last game.
It was the last game then.
And to come out and to still have a full team with reserves, and the club is still functioning after 6 weeks. So well done to them to get a team up and to play and to be competitive also.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the second half. Let's take a look here, and now we'll see who wins this game. Is it Peoples or is it hands and hearts?
This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks and MChem 24-hour pharmacy. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks, and MChem 24-Hour Pharmacy.
All right, then, there we go, folks. Welcome back. And Jerome, final result there. Hands and Hearts winning 34 points to 20, but Young People's bouncing back there. It looks like Young People's was up for it.
Yeah, the second half definitely belongs to Young People's. They were unlucky, I would say. They scored just after halftime, but then they had an opportunity to score again. And then the number 9 made a wrong decision. They were 2-on-1 and he decided to kick the ball away. But the second half definitely better performance from Peoples. And then at the right time, Hansen Hart got points. And they were also clever against the wind. I think John Lee kicked that one penalty against the wind over. And so they used the opportunities, I would say, a little bit better than Young People's.
Faisal, let's just quickly talk a little bit about the promotion relegation side of things. In Western Province, the top teams, at least the top league, Super League A, Super League B, Super League C, has all got a seeding, right? Do you understand?
Yeah.
From one, and why do you need a seeding?
So basically, the seeding would work now for us in terms of the withdrawal of a team.
So when you draw your teams next year, you know who plays home and away.
Correct, yeah.
All right. So it's important that by the end of the playoffs of the promotion relegation games, the last of the pool matches and everything, you're able to rank your teams 1 to 15 and so forth in the leagues.
Yeah. Well, look, the seeding's been done for the next 4 years, in the sense that if you played home this year, next year you'll be playing away.
Yeah. But you still need to know who's 1 and who's 2.
Well, 1 and 2 determine your promotions and who's going to be in the knockout competition.
Yeah,
so once that is done, from our side now, we only start using the seeding. And the reason the seeding this year is crucial was because of the withdrawal of Victorians.
Right, so it's important to know then that one team, out of your seedings, one team has to fill a gap coming up.
Correct,
right, yeah. Okay. So the Hands and Hearts Young People's game was a promotion relegation game, but because of the seeding, both teams end up staying in Super League B.
That's correct.
All right. Right, folks, there you go. That's an easy understanding then. One team drops out in Super League A. What means one team has to come up from lower down. So even though Young People's lost this game, they're able to survive in Super League B because they retain the space that had to move up in terms of the Vic space. So Faisal, let's just quickly take a look at the logs then in Super League A. If we look at Super League A first now for the promotion relegation space, we can see there that Durban, of course, were the winner of Super League A. So we know that that's and there's only one team then that ends up getting relegated in Super League A, which is Primrose.
That's correct, yeah.
So that's a strict relegation. NTK stay, but Vics drop out.
Yeah.
But the bottom spots that will be filled will, of course, be Hamlets and Kelsriver, which now come up to Super League A.
Yeah. So I think what would happen first is that we still include Vics as part of the promotion relegation. So we go through the normal competition format as per the rules. So you do your promotion and relegation. Once that is done, then we seed the teams from 1 to 45, 1 to 15 Super A, 16 to 30 Super B, 31 to 45. And then basically what happens is that...
Well, before you get into all the maths there, because it does sound rather complicated, let me just ask you a simple question.
Yeah.
How many teams will be in Super League A in 2020?
15 teams.
So 15 teams in Super League. Is Super League B also 15 teams?
15 teams.
And Super League C, 15 teams. So our numbers aren't going to change.
Nope.
It's just a question of
who's moving up and who's moving down.
One comes up. Yeah. All right.
Okay, folks, we will take a look at that a little bit later. Of course, it becomes very interesting. But let's quickly look there at Super League B to remind you who goes down and who goes up. Hamlets and Kelsriver, they do go up. And then, of course, at the bottom of the log there, you'll see that Young People's ended up number 13. And there where you see those red dots on the screen, that's Macassar and Rangers. And they are unfortunately going to be relegated to a Super League C. All right, let's take a look then at the Super League C log. And this helps you also understand who goes up and who goes down. And if you look at the Super League C log here, there you see with the green dots, Hands and Hearts, Scottsdene and Langa, they go up to Super League B. And then at the bottom there, you'll see Manenberg Rangers and Young Wesleys. They will end up just 2 teams being relegated, only 2 teams being relegated in Super League C. And Faisal, they of course go to the City,
Northern City and Southern. Yeah. But I think what's important to mention, it's only for this year that 2 teams will go down from Super C.
Folks, we're going to catch up there quickly with the coaches and captains from Hands on Hearts. Of course, at Hands on Hearts, coach there's Peter Links and Xenophine Hale. In fact, we'll talk to them after the break, so don't go away. You can see the local coaches and captains that made it happen. Of course, the young people's was, of course, Jacques Haynes and Anthony George. We'll be back in a sec. All right then, folks, there we go. We're being told that the sound is up and we have to carry on. Folks, as you know, then, of course, it was Hands on Hearts and Young People's, and they were playing in the promotion and relegation game, and Young People's manages to stay in Super League B because of the seeding factor. If you want to win yourself a case of Score, that comes up in a second or so. Make sure you got your mobile phone handy. I'm going to give you the opportunity to win yourself a case of Score energy drinks. Of course, Score is on board with Western Province Club Rugby at the Western Province Sevens. Next week, we feature all of the clubs and all of their new jerseys. Every club, once again, getting a Score energy drink jersey that they're going to be wearing at the Sevens. This is super exciting. I'm going to speak to Faisal Felton about that in a second or so. But once again, Western Province delivers, I think, what is probably the world's biggest Sevens rugby tournament with more than 1,000 players and more than 50 teams. And certainly, Faisal, let me ask you now, certainly it must be the only rugby tournament in the world where every team gets given a set of jerseys.
No, definitely. I think that's something great, and I think a lot of the teams that are playing there, that's important to them, is that set of jerseys.
And the clubs, I believe, the clubs can all design their own jersey as well.
Design their own jerseys. I think also one of the great things is, this year there's additional jerseys that you can order, which helps some of the clubs, especially when it comes to 15s and that. So yeah.
Hang on, just give me a little bit more on that. And what do you mean by additional jerseys you can order? You mean for the fans, or are you talking about the teams?
No. I think for the teams, JP. Yeah. I think we understand the clubs are struggling, especially when it comes to jerseys and stuff. So what we've done is Sevens once a year. We've allowed clubs to order additional jerseys thanks to the sponsor.
Okay, so let's explain that in a more practical sense. How many players in a Seven squad?
15.
15.
Yeah.
How many players when you're playing during the league?
23.
23. Yep. So we need 8 spare jerseys.
That's correct.
So now you can use your Sevens jerseys, you add on 8 and you've got a full squad jersey.
Full squad, use it for the entire season.
Isn't that so easy to understand?
Simple.
I love that. I love the fact that you can wear your Sevens jersey during the league. Yeah. Anyway, right, folks, that's looking forward to the Sevens. We're going to talk more a little bit about that after the break. We'll talk about where it is and what time it kicks off and how long it's going to last. But of course, we know when the Sevens fever kicks in, it's just a jaw. It's just yes. Let's catch up with Young People's coach Jacques Haynes and of course Young People's captain Anthony George. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks and MChem 24-hour Pharmacy.
Ja, dit was glad nie 'n maklike seisoen vir ons. Ons het meer wedstryde gewen as wat ons meer wedstryde verloor as wat ons gewen het. En in alle wedstryde het ons baie competitive rugby gespeel, maar aan die einde van die dag dit net gelyk of die laaste 20 minute dat ons fiks het in die deur kom en dit is hoekom ons baie van die wedstryde in die laaste paar minute verloor het. Ons geweet dit gaan mooi hardloop rugby wees want albei spanne is altyd kenmerkend vir hardloop rugby en soos jy kan gesien het by tye het ons mooi rugby gespeel en dit lyk aan die einde het ons weer en ons verdediging het ons eintlik aan die einde bietjie teleurgestel, maar soos gesê die geskiedenis praat van homself. Volgende jaar gaan ons vertroulik op die Dalioso vat en dan sal hulle werklik 'n young people span van alle vier sien.
Ja, en sy nasie is dit geweet, hulle gaan kom guns blazing om op te kom na die league toe. So ek wil baie geluk sê vir hulle opgekom het, maar sien we hulle volgende jaar kom ons terug vir hulle vir 'n bang. As dit baie van die 120s kans gee om first team te speel. So as kyk maar na volgende jaar hoe hulle weer gaan perform, so die site is ook vir enige een, oud, jong, as jy die mas kan opkom om first team te haal, en gaan jy sien hoe hy kans gee. Ons het close games verloor en ek dink ons moet hom 'n bietjie werk aan ons fitness level. Want dit tel baie, as jy nie fit is vir 80 minute nie, dan sal die ander team vir jou wys hoe 80 minute.
This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks and MChem 24-hour Pharmacy. Jacques Haynes, Anthony George, Jerome, you know these guys?
Yeah, and I know Jackie, and I know he's passionate about the club, and he's already talking about teams going to Dal Josephat next year in what they're going to do.
Yeah.
So it's good to see that he has some plans and to keep the players positive in what they want to do next year, and also lucky to still be in Super B.
Right then, Peter Links, of course, coach at Hands and Hearts, and one of my good mates, Xenophine Hale. And for those of you that don't know this, Xenophine Hale is a South African karate champion. So make sure that you're very disciplined, because karate people are very disciplined. But I love always catching up with Xenophine. But let's catch up with Peter Links and Xenophine. This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks and MChem 24-hour Pharmacy.
Ons het reg aan die begin van die jaar gesê dat ons weet waartoe ons wil beweeg. Ons het vir onsself gesê dat ons is 'n Superliga B-span. So ons doel was om wedstrijd vir wedstrijd te vat en die klub terug te sit in Superliga B. Ek dink ons het in ons doel geslaag, ten spyte van wat ook al gebeur het met die klub. Ek dink ons het ons doel bereik. Ja, kyk, wanneer jy speel teen 'n span wat relegasie in die oog staan, dan weet jy dat so 'n span gaan met alles kom. En ons het geweet Young Peoples gaan 'n moeilike oppositie wees. Hulle het ook langlaas gespeel. Ons het nou gelukkig ons nou 2 wedstryde gespeel voor dit. So ons het geweet dit gaan 'n moeilike wedstryd wees omdat Young Peoples wil bly in Superliga B. So the fight for survival is going to be big from their side, and they did show us. They showed us.
Julle weet, toe ons gehoor het as Young Peoples, weet ons dit gaan 'n game en 'n half wees vir ons, want ons ken ons geskiedenis. Young Peoples wil die bal gooi en hulle wil punte aanteken, maar ons self as die boys, ons vat vir Young People met alle insette wat ons het. Ons vat hulle vooraan. Ons moet speel met ons forwards om created space, om space create vir ons backline, maar weet jy, ons het teëgedruk. Dit was taaf geweest. Ons ken van Young People, is 'n baie taffe span. Op 'n dag die scoreboard sê alles. Julle weet, toe ons gehoor het as Young People, weet ons dit gaan 'n game en 'n half wees vir ons, want ons ken ons geskiedenis. Young People wil die bal gooi en hulle wil punte aanteken, maar ons self as die boys, ons vat vir Young People met alle insette wat ons het. Ons vat hulle vooraan. Ons moet speel met ons forwards om created space, om space create vir ons backline, maar weet jy, ons het teëgedruk. Dit was taaf geweest. Ons ken van Young People, is 'n baie taffe span. Op 'n dag die scoreboard sê alles.
This Cape Rugby TV feature is brought to you by Direct Access Financial Services, Score Energy Drinks and MChem 24-hour Pharmacy. Xenophine Hale, Peter Links, Jerome, Faisal, let's go to you quickly. You know Peter Links, been stalwart at Hands and Hearts.
No, definitely. I think he's come a long way in that there. Well done to him. I think, to take the team up, there's been lots of challenges in that there, but I think all good and well to Hands and Hearts. I think they deserve their place in Super League B. They had a great season. I think, they need that extra testing grounds in Super League B, I think, to hopefully next year, they will definitely do well.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take an ad break. Xenophine then, I was going to go to you, Jerome, but it's not necessary. Xenophine, of course, leading from the front there. He's a well-known referee as well. And for those of you that have got kids in the area and you want to learn how to do karate or play rugby, then Xenophine Hale is your man in the neighborhood. We'll take an ad break, but before we go to the break, remember you can win yourself a case of Score Energy Drinks, 33090. Grab your mobile phone, SMS now. SMS the word SCORE to 33090. Congratulations to last week's winner, Mark Johannes. Mark, somebody from Cape Rugby TV is going to be in touch with you, and you walk away with a case of Score Energy Drinks. There you see it behind me now. We'll be back after the break. Right, folks, we're going to wrap it up now. Of course, we've got some other topics to talk about quickly. Promoted then into Super League C, Lunga, Scottsdene, Hands and Hearts, and relegated Manenberg Rangers and Young Wesley's. Faisal, of course, there's still a couple of other things on the cards at the moment. The promotion relegation games are are currently in place. The 4 teams there that are up for grabs. Albion's Noorlikers, they played out over the weekend. It was a win for Albions. Yeah. CPUT, they beat Yesterofir. Hamadias, they beat Blakes. And Masipumlele then beat Peninsula. Right, so now we have our top 4 teams there. If we look at them, Albion, CPUT, Violets, and Yesterofir. This weekend, so Albions and CPUT are so far in the lead, Jerome, that they potentially are going to be promoted. And Violets and Eersterrivier, it's a play out for them at the moment because Violets is sitting on 27 points. Eersterrivier is sitting on 22 points. It's a 5-point difference. And this weekend, although Violets has got points difference, this weekend, if we look at the barometer, which we're going to take a look at in a second, Violets are up against Eerste Rivier. The winner here is going to be promoted along with Albions and CPUT. Faisal, have I got it right?
You got it wrong.
I got it wrong. Explain it to me.
I've been on the spot. So what happens is, number 3 will play against number 4 in the playoff game. So I think, like you said, Violets, Eerste Rivier, but I think, the dark horse there is also Northlands, who's also got a chance. Should the Violets win, it means that, in Northlands win, it means that Violets will play against Northlands. 3
Okay, explain this to me again. We've got the top 4 teams, Albion, CPD, Eerste Rivier and Violets, playing this coming Saturday.
That's correct. So at the end of it, you'll have position 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1 and 2 is automatically promoted, and 3 and 4 will play against each other to determine who the third team is that will be promoted. Simple.
Right, so we're not going on points here just yet.
No. 1 and 2, definitely.
1 and 2 go through, and then there's a playoff between 3 and 4.
That's correct, yeah.
All right, well, I'm glad you explained this to me because I think otherwise I might have explained it wrong to everybody.
But where does Noordelijkers get in?
So Noordelijkers get in based on the fact that they're sitting on 20 points. And they've got a game in hand. Eerste Rivier is playing against Violets, as you said. And if Eerste Rivier loses that game,
so you mean Noordelijkers could go up into 4th place on
outside chance,
all
correct,
right.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a small chance because Noordelijk is playing against Hamadias this weekend.
That's correct, yeah.
All right, so fixtures then, critical folks, so I hope you got it. I've just been corrected there. Noordelijk is up against Hamadias. Eerste Rivier take on Violets. Blakes take on CPUT and Peninsula take on Albions. Let's quickly take a look then at the barometer. Jerome, you'll be wanting to jump in here. CPUT and Blakes. The advantage here sits in the hands of CPUT, even though it's an away game.
Easy, CPUT.
Easy, CPUT. Faisal Felton, I'm going to give you the next one. Peninsula and Albions. The advantage here looks like Albions. They're sitting at 1 on the log there, and Peninsula sitting at 9.
I think I'll go with Albions. Yeah, I think they've had a great season. Yeah, definitely.
All right, so you're going with Albions there. Then, of course, Jerome, here's the big one. Violets and Eerste Rivier. This is pretty close. Violets is sitting on a 71% success rate. Eerste Rivier on 57. And the favour does look like it's falling in favour of Violets. They also, even though the fan factor is in Eerste Rivier's favour.
I would say, if I look at the win percentages, but on the day, as we see now how the finals or promotion win, at home, Eerste Rivier is dangerous, so I would go Eerste Rivier.
Well, interestingly enough, Eerste Rivier has got a better home average than Violets have got an away average by only 1 point. So, if the maths is correct, we should see a final result score of 32-21 for Eerste Rivier.
Exactly.
That's what the barometer says. We'll have to see where it goes, though. Right, folks, let's quickly take a look at the Par League results then over the weekend. Allendale with a 34-12 win over Young Standards. Paarl Rangers 28-22 over Simonium. Riverstones then beating Young Gardens 28-10. And then Lower Paarl 64-12 over Violets Paarl. All right, your Par League numbers then in this lower part at the top. Paarl Rangers in second place and Riverstones followed by Allendale, Young Standards, Young Gardens, Simonium, Violets, Paarl and Peril United. That's where your Par League ended up. The 4 teams that are going to be playing in the semi-finals on a Saturday. And of course, some of these teams are playing tonight, and we'll only know what the final results are tomorrow morning. But these are your 4 teams that will be playing out either in first and second or third and fourth on Saturday. Is Paarl Rangers, Riverstones, Lower Paarl, and Allendale. Those are your 4 teams that will be playing through to the playing this Saturday. We'll only know what those fixtures are after tonight's results. Faisal, let's quickly talk about the Western Province Club Rugby Sevens coming up. Next week you've got the launch. You're expecting quite a big turnout there. Yeah,
looking at about plus minus 50 teams will be at the launch. It's next week Tuesday evening at the Newlands, Southern Sun Newlands.
Yeah. Exciting. And of course, everything playing out at CPUT again?
Definitely CPUT. So looking forward to it. Again, I think it's another 4 or 5 weeks of rugby, sevens.
Exciting. Jerome, are you excited for the sevens?
Definitely. As long as there's rugby, we're busy, and that's what we want. And we hopefully will pick up some guys there that can join us at the end of November.
Are you going to go scouting? Are you going to go?
Yeah, definitely, because November we start again with the club squad for next year's Super Sport Challenge. So
hang on, just explain that to us a little bit. You start with a Super Sport Challenge preparation in November?
In November, yeah, and it's mainly because a lot of the guys, contracted guys, are busy with Dobson. So then we start with the club squad in November. So there's a lot of guys, and there's a lot of guys that we already identified. And there's at the sevens, there's another opportunity to see guys playing.
Okay, so you guys got your hands full from November already. So from the sevens straight into pre-season.
Straight into.
All right, well, more TV time, folks, where you can see who the club play. Hopefully we can get a list of players, so we can profile these players. How many guys do you think you're going to have?
To start off, JP,
50?
25.
25?
Yeah,
Okay.
because there are some contracted guys who's going to fall out with Dobson who will join our squad also.
25 club rugby players that are going to be right. So what we want from you, from a TV point of view, is we want the photos and the profile of 25 players. Like, where do they go to school? What clubs do they play for? Their favorite position, their favorite type of food, their favorite movie. You know, that kind of stuff. Let's profile.
Girlfriend's name?
No. We don't need the girlfriend's name, but we want to profile the player. Jerome, we're going to leave it at that. All right, folks, so there's a lot of rugby happening this weekend. Make sure you find yourself your favorite location where you can go and enjoy all of the rugby action. That's a wrap from us here. We'll see you again next week, same time.